right. Hey everybody, it's Vinny from KeyFi, and I'm here in the flesh with Ben Gervais, CEO and co-founder. And today we have an exciting update for you. We're going to announce the newest chapter in KeyFi. It's been a long year. It's been, we're in the depths of a bear market, but we're still building. And we're going to touch upon three major topics in this update, which is governance, product, and tokenomics. And we're really trying to set forward a sustainable path into 2023 and beyond. So, yeah, with no further ado, Ben, can we have a quick update?
Sure. As far as what we've been working on, so we've got a white paper draft that is in the works right now, and it's quite detailed. I think it's about 40 pages right now still, and it's got a lot of really more specific details in terms of how the implementation of the governance is going to happen, how the KeyFi DAO is going to function, down to like configuration detail level, right? Same thing with the tokenomic model, having a big update there, and also bringing in the NFT aspect of the tokenomics too, which is something new. And then finally, behind that, I've been doing a lot of sort of like research and development into some of the more difficult, product sort of areas that we had talked about before in some previous videos. And this is, I guess we'll get into more details about what that is specifically in a minute.
Yeah, I guess I can give some context. The last time we gave a project timeline, we anticipated KeyFi DAO full decentralization by the end of last year. By the end of this year. By the end of this year. So that's on schedule, and there are some pivots to the product and some restructuring there that we think will be more sustainable long term, which we can discuss. But yeah, we've gone from launching a project early last year, going cross chain on the app. Integrating with many different DEXs and protocols, and really carrying out the mission, which was building a platform for managing your DeFi portfolio and integrating with the entire DeFi space. So there are some simplifications to that product. There are some refocuses that Ben will discuss when it comes to product. And we want to lean more into certain trends that are sort of arising now in the technology space, which Ben will discuss. So yeah, we'll discuss governance, tokenomics, and product. I guess we can start with governance first.
Yeah, let's do that. We've hit sort of the 2-year milestone of the token being released, and basically now what's happened is we've hit the end of the time lock. So for the KeyFi token contract itself, so it was time locked for 2 years, or approximately. We go by the exact block number. So that opens up some new possibilities in terms of how we can sort of have more flexibility going forward in terms of our token economic model, which is good. So we haven't released any new smart contracts for that yet, or made any of the specific changes that we need to make in terms of the changing the ownership of the contracts over to the DAO. But that is basically in progress now still. So we're starting to work on changing ownership of these smart contracts away from the multi-sig that we had previously towards something that is DAO controlled and can use your tokens basically to create governance proposals outside of the snapshot platform, which we already have implemented, but the actual on-chain governance, which could make a transaction, for one of these smart contracts. Right? So that's a process that we'll be taking slowly and carefully because we don't want to, make any blunders there still that are irreversible. So we're proceeding with caution on that, but we are proceeding at this point still. So that's moved up into sort of the things that we're doing now, more or less still, instead of pushing out to the future. So that is sort of the status on that. And then as far as like the functionality and what we're looking at for governance is it ties into some of the other aspects. Obviously, it ties into tokenomics tokenomics and the incentive models around DAO contributions. And that's going to primarily focus in the beginning on contributions of data and information still, which I'll talk about more detail when we go to the product section. But yeah, that's mainly it. So governance is moving forward, it's scheduled, and yeah, we will make any announcements about specific changes, like changes in ownership of smart contracts or any new DAO-related smart contracts or dashboard functionality that's released for that.
Got it. I guess we can pivot towards product, because one important consideration for decentralizing the project is to sort of crowdsource the development, right? To sort of collaborate with the community on developing the integrations on the core app, for example. As a quick background, the KeyFi core originated as the MVP to allow the self-key and the KeyFi communities to stake their respective assets, and then we widened the scope to allowing users to connect their wallets and manage their KeyFi, swap, borrow, lend, etc. And one sort of development challenge we reached was, in order to scale quickly and develop a lot of integrations quickly, we need to bring on a lot of development resources. So I think if you look at other competing aggregators, there hasn't really been a decentralized version of that, right? A open source version of that.
And that's actually a great point, because and part of the decentralization process is that we're going to be opening up some more of the code base to be open source, so that we can have more community contribution, and we want the project to be more DAO driven. So basically, we're going to be starting off with data contributions. So this is specifically around the area of integrations, where we'd be asking community members or DAO members to basically go and find the smart contract addresses of integrations that they'd like to see in the app, and then find more particular information about that. So what specific calls are made to those smart contracts, what's the formatting of them, what data needs to be passed through to make that call happen, and other additional information too, like additional notes on how that platform might work, maybe some notes about what could be an interesting way to approach sort of managing assets on that platform. Let's say if it's lend borrow platform and you want to create some sort of like a helper function kind of that could do multiple different actions in a single one, stuff like that, right? So if we get the information about those platforms and how to do that, that's sort of the first step there still. So we need those contract addresses, information about the smart contracts, and there's just so many of them that there's at least 700, I think on one of the lists anyway still, and that that. You're seeing new projects come in. You're seeing old projects fall out of favor. It's always in flux too, right? So it's not like we can just have like this static list and okay, you get these and then they're done and then they're done, right? It unfortunately doesn't work like that. It's always in flux. So that is an area where we do need help from the community to help us get that sort of core information. And then once we have that information, especially about the contract addresses and the specific the call functions that we need to do the actual integrations with, then everything gets a lot easier for us, and we'll be able to actually bring them into the app much quicker. So
right. So in other words, one of the contributors for decentralization is to scale the core app and the aggregator side of the business in order to get assistance in exchange for some sort of compensation, some sort of reward, i.e. tokens, right?
Yeah. So the community data portal, that's going to be connected to an incentive model, and there's going to be basically integrations with NFTs as well as more credentials. So that'll be working with some of the new credentials platforms that Selkie has released recently, or actually they're pre-release. But they've been working on that for about the last 10 or so months, I think. So that's probably getting close to being released there. So when we have these new NFT platforms that come out, we'll be working with them to make sure that they're integrated into our platform in some certain ways. I think that mostly explains. That's the beginning of the data portal. I mean, we have plans basically to expand that over a longer period of time, where we'll be looking to collect data sets and using extra data basically to help us train AI models, which I'm not allowed to talk about that yet, right?
Yeah.
So we'll talk a lot about that.
Yeah. Okay, so that covers the centralization aspect and the separation of the KeyFi core, which is the aggregator, and some of the more sophisticated, pro features. Is KeyFi core open source?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the path that we go forward on. Like we're not 100% decided on this, but probably what the best way forward is going to be is to move that app, including the front end and the balance API and the integrations library. Now there is already an integrations library that was open source, but it's actually the old one. It's not the up-to-date one. So we'd be open sourcing all of that, and then attaching that to development bounties as well. So outside of just the data sourcing, we would also put up bounties for actual coding and stuff like that.
Great.
But we do have some new tools for development, which are really revolutionize sort of our software development workflow, which is again I'm trying not to. Got it.
So we know that we're going to adjust tokenomics in order to reward the community for development work. Are there any other changes you wanted to share about the new token economic model?
We'll be looking to do more credentials integrations as well. So as you guys know, there's been a lot of drama, I guess you could say, in crypto land over the past year. We've seen stuff happen with Terra, Celsius, FTX, Alameda. What else, right? So we're seeing these type of events happen. So it's what we had said years ago still, that regulations are coming, and basically we need to find a way to help people who want to be compliant with those regulations, but at the same time still leverage all of the new technology around like blockchain, decentralized finance, and other decentralized applications. That's going to be another area that we'll be integrating more into. So we have done the pilot project in the past with the credentials, and there's newer versions of credentials coming out now, more interoperability, different sort of different flows, I guess, for users to acquire them, manage them, utilize them.
Okay, awesome. I guess we can get to some questions now. Let's talk more about product. So, can you share more about the more pro level features, since we're separating, there's a clear separation between core and pro?
Right. So for pro, it's going to be focusing on data and machine learning models. So we previously released two machine learning driven features. There's the discovery engine and the market analysis. So we've taken those offline a little while ago because we've gone through the testing period that we wanted to, and now we've been working on basically revamping those and improving also in different areas still. So there's the AI models, and then there's also more integrations with some different tools that we can use to analyze the data. So another area that I have been working on recently is into integrating technical analysis indicators. So this would be stuff like Bollinger Bands, RSI, MACD, stuff like that, right? And integrating that into the data sources that we have, for price data, and connecting that to the alert system. So ideally, for the evolution of Pro, one of the areas that we would have is the ability to, basically work with a lot more AI models and work with more sort of trading related data, like technical indicators. There are also many other data sources that we have, I guess, done like testing with on the back end, and we'll see what we want to bring in at certain times. Because every time that we bring in a data source, we do also have to concern ourselves with how the data is being managed on the back end, how it's being stored, how it's being organized, and then also how it's being presented in the front end. So even though we might have more data sources than we're currently showing in the app still, there's going to be a process before that they can get in there. But we do have quite a bit still.
Okay, great. How will the new data portal help develop better AI models?
So again, if we go back to talking about crowdsourcing data, the more the merrier, right? The more data that you have, the better your model is going to be ultimately. And not only that, but also having better data, better curated data. So having a community come in and help us source this data, curate this data, organize it, manage it through the community data portal. We'll be able to take that data and train AI models that'll be exclusively available to the community. So the more you put in, the more you get out, in a sense, right?
Yeah. Ben, you've been working with AI a lot recently. Can you share some of your experiences around what you've been testing? Which platforms, which languages you've been using, and why you enjoy it so much?
Sure. So I first started working in, I guess it was 2017. I started working with some tools for natural language processing. So this was around the area of sentiment analysis and part of speech recognition for building very, very early stage chatbots. And from there, I remember when GPT-2 came out in 2019, I had worked on that a fair bit still, but those are mostly hobby projects, frankly speaking. It wasn't until 2021, so last year, that we started to look at working with AI in a more sort of professional sense. So some of the different platforms that we're using now, obviously GPT-3. Now that's been kind of in the news lately still because they released an update, and they also released, what was it, the chat GPT, right? So this is basically like a front end for the latest sort of model of GPT-3 with a little sort of little sugar on top of it still to make it have sort of like a chatbot functionality, and people are really impressed with what it can do. I'm really impressed with what it can do, basically, so the past week or so since been able to see this new model that's come out, I have been basically sort of nonstop working on different ideas, how to make it better, how to improve it, how to improve on workflows, how to improve on development speed, on development time. It's opened up a lot of doors, let's say, still. So I'm really looking forward to sharing with you guys more of some of these tools that I'm working on that we can actually release into the app still. Does that kind of answer it?
Yeah. It's a good one. All right, so we guess we covered all three topics: governance, tokenomics, product.
We didn't talk about the stake to mint.
Okay, so that's more the tokenomics.
Yeah. So one of the main changes for the tokenomics is we're going to change how KeyFi is staked and what that does, and also we're going to change how to access features inside of the app, as well as also things like different DAO member roles. And to facilitate that, we'll be using NFTs. So we'll be using NFTs to access the app. We'll be using NFTs to define different roles for DAO members. that unlock different abilities for them. And the main thing is going to be something called stake to mint. So qualified DAO members will be allowed to stake KeyFi tokens, and depending on the amount of KeyFi tokens that they have staked, they'll be eligible to mint NFTs. These NFTs will be the only way to access the premium features on KeyFi. So in a sense, you're minting a subscription pass or like an access pass to the app, which you'll be able to go and resell on the like OpenSea or whatever, like on the resale market, right? So again, how this works, without getting into the specifics, qualified DAO members will be able to stake KeyFi tokens, which will allow them to mint NFT access passes, which they can sell, and people can buy them and then access the KeyFi app. And that will be the only way to access it. We're going to remove the staking KeyFi tokens to access the app and only use the NFTs. So you as DAO members who are staking KeyFi tokens, minting these NFTs and selling them, in a sense, you'll be benefiting from the app and in a more direct way still. And I think this is a better token economic model than what we had previously had, which was like a liquidity mining and staking with KeyFi emissions, because basically it's more sort of dialed into what we want, which is to sell access to an app, right? And by allowing the community to sort of to participate and work together on this still, again, whether it's going to be through staking, minting, and selling NFTs, or whether it's participating in the community data portal, or other DAO governance responsibilities and things like that. The more the community can come in and work together on these different tasks, the faster that the KeyFi platform as a whole gets better.
Was the emissions rate a consideration in moving from a liquidity mining to NFTs as a source of as an incentive?
Yeah, I think basically it's been pretty widely agreed that liquidity mining in its iteration that it came out with with like the sushi swap style thing, it's not like the best long-term sustainable way to build a token economic model. I think we realized that quite a while ago, actually. So really, it's just more a matter of transitioning away from that. And I mean, that's more or less wrapped up. It'll wrap up officially probably Q1 next year. But it's a pretty logical transition. And I think most other projects are doing the same thing. So not necessarily to the same one that we have with the stake to mint NFT thing, but people are definitely like reviewing and making changes there as needed.
Got it. Great. That's all the questions I've pulled so far. All right. Well, I guess we will be drafting an article relatively soon that will lay this out, more in a chronological format and along with a governance proposal. Is that right?
There will be some governance proposals coming soon. Yeah, about DAO implementation and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So probably the next things to watch out for. You'll have a summary article to go with this video, but also watch out for the Whitepaper 2.0. So that will be released soon, and we'll be updating the product roadmap on the website. And then I think the next thing after that, after the governance proposals and all that, we will be launching the data portal and starting some of the incentives there.
Okay, great. Yeah, so keep an eye out.
Yeah.
All right, thanks guys. See you.